Welcome to the show. I'm your
So,
host, Scott Dozier. We have here Aaron Moon. I guess we're co-hosting, right? Co-host.
you
And
go.
today we want to talk to you about why strong men sit in circles, kind of more specifically brotherhood circles and the types of things that go on, and not just your emotional or your spiritual state, but like physiologically as well, right? So I'll hand it over to you, Aaron, and we can
That's right. So I think men, it doesn't take a stretch to imagine that women around us are gathering in circles way more often than men. Something like a 3-to-1 ratio of women are in circles as opposed to the one man. At every man that I meet actually does crave a circle of men. Think about it. Whether you're at the Premier League game, guys shoulder to shoulder with a common cause for 90 minutes or so. And
Right.
then what? They go around and it's like everything for themselves. Everybody's fucking shitting on each other, calling each other names, and I think that's bonding. Well, the question is, are you surrounded in a circle of boys, uninitiated boys? And there's no shame or shade. I'm not casting shade or shame. This is just matter of factly. Are you in a circle of boys? Are you in a circle of men? I think there's a difference between immature fraternity, drinking, hazing, proving, posturing, daring, right? Rather, as an adult, conscious men's circles, rites of passage, accountability, vulnerability, initiation, and proper test of strengths, regular test of strength where it's not, I'm definitely going to win because I got my buddies behind me and I'm just going to smash, have a row, give this guy a black eye, but like, what are the contests, conscious contests that you're engaged in? And then also there's the personal story, the times maybe that I've been in all kinds of circles when men's work versus just bro nights. So there's a lot of ground to cover here. Where to begin?
I mean, I think that, the thing that comes up for me when you start mentioning that is that we're talking about depth, right? It doesn't take a genius to understand that when you're sitting with four or five men, six, eight, 10, around a fire, and you're talking about life and the things that are going on, as opposed to, a couple beers deep, rooting on your favorite team in a stadium, that's not exactly the time to get deep, right? And so creating
Although one might find tears of joy in that last scenario,
facts,
right?
facts, yes, yeah, absolutely, or tears of sorrow. I've done both at a sporting event.
There's definitely some emotions, heightened
Yes,
emotions
yes,
coming out at sporting
yes.
events.
But
Yeah, that's one
emotion
thing.
doesn't necessarily equal depth either, right? Just because
True.
something can evoke emotion within you, that doesn't mean that it's also bringing forth depth. And I think the thing that we're missing a lot is depth. Is that men don't have depth circles to gather where there's depth, and creating something like that intentionally is really what's necessary. All right.
Yeah, so depth, I think some men might guffaw or make fun of that, but think about like your Navy SEALs team or your special forces. These men have depth with each other. And most men in thinking of vulnerability, it's like, oh, this means weakness or I'm going to get hurt in some way. Well, that's actually what science says is separating warriors from the casualties and collateral damage of society. Take it Harvard's, there was this 80-year study done at Harvard, okay? You can look this up online. There's the bullet points. Deep relationships predict longevity more than genetics or wealth. This is not something new, but we know that the quality of relationships is the number one predictor of happiness and longevity in life for people. So what are the quality of relationships like? If you're constantly cutting each other down, how is it feeding your soul? How is that motivating you? How is it inspiring you? Well, men in authentic circles have shown 35% better stress resilience in just 30 days of regularly meeting about once a week. And if you've ever read David Dater, The Way of the Superior Man, or any of a lot of these other books that are informing us around this, man meets at least once a week with his peers or his betters, as it were, to help sharpen the sword. Here's what's happening in my life. Here's how I'm responding to it. Do you guys see any friction here? Am I lying to myself? Where am I full of shit? How can I do better? What do you guys love about me? And what's what's the move here? Like super strong. And that same study that I'm talking about also showed 20% drop in blood cortisol levels. Now, we need cortisol
That's
for
the
making supplements.
testosterone killer, though, right?
Effectively, yeah, its job is to mobilize glucose, mobilize sugar, and with cortisol way too high, the rest of our body chemistry becomes imbalanced. And one of the chemicals that suffers for men is testosterone. We need testosterone to be powerful, to maintain muscle mass, to have a sex drive, to not be a total prick, believe it or not. We can manage our anger with the appropriate balance of cortisol, testosterone, and body chemistry. When our body chemistry is out of balance, we're unconsciously spilling out emotions everywhere. And I just also want to mention that same Harvard study showed massive gains. Okay. Being in a men's circle, 64% higher goal completion when witnessed by other men versus trying to do it solo. Okay. And that was a massive aggregate study that was just released in 2020. So, guys, our nervous system is literally rewires when we're just witnessed by other men without judgment. This isn't touchy-feely shit. It's biology, it's chemistry, it's electricity. And so, I would love anybody listening to this right now, like find a group to get into this week for the next 60 days. Try it out. 30 days, 60 days, and just see. Share one truth that you've been carrying alone with another man who's there to not judge you. You're not seeking advice. We're just truth telling, even for 3 minutes, and just watch how your body responds. Now, if you don't have a man who can do that in your life, that's when you know you're in trouble. You're in trouble because you're going to age faster. You'll be less happier. You will not respond to stress as well as you could without a man who's there to not judge you. And most of us grew up with dads who meant well, but quite frankly, were abusive and not very supportive, right?
Well, I think, and I've talked to so many different men about this, it's that we were raised by, a generation of men that were emotionally unavailable because they were raised by men, our grandfathers, who were even more emotionally unavailable. Many of them just came back from war. They went through the Great Depression and stuff like that. It's like, suck it up. You got people to take care of. You ain't got time for your emotions. You know what I mean? You fucking sweep that under the rug. But times have changed, right? And we're in this space now where, I think that there is a collective healing going on. And in that, men have an opportunity to heal as well. And part of that is being witnessed in a group and witnessing one another and kind of the collective up leveling that goes with that. The one thing that I would say as far as a men's circle that's really, really important though, and because I've talked to people who've been to retreats and they've been in different circles, right? And if you don't have that element of vulnerability, nobody ever really gets comfortable in being vulnerable. And then we don't actually get into and start talking about like the real muck and the stuff, right? So,
Right. And how's that going for your relationship with your lady, by the way? You think she's going to put up with you stonewalling her every day, not letting you in? There's a scene between these two characters, Keeley and Roy Kent, in the show Ted Lasso. And Kent is this badass. He's modeled after a real player who is like one of the most decorated Irish footballers in of all time. But this character Roy, he goes home and he's kind of like talking, realizes his lady Keeley she's not downstairs. He walks upstairs and she's in bed pleasuring herself. She's like, yeah, getting on. She's got her phone. and Roy's standing there. He's just looking in. He's like, what you fucking doing? She's like, oh my God. And she throws the phone. He's asking her, why'd you throw the phone? I just was trying to get it from a Vader or something. Anyway, he finds the phone. He's like, show me what you were watching. Show me what you were watching. You're having a row. Like, show me what you're watching. He's like, look, I want to know you. I want to know what gets you on. She's like, oh, okay. So she shows him. And it's him at his fucking, spoiler alert. You guys don't pass this if you like the show. It's his retirement speech, and he's fucking crying. I'm announcing my retirement. So she's literally pleasuring herself to this guy who never shows any emotion except for fucking angry.
she's getting off to his emotional depth that he's showing that he doesn't show her anywhere else, right? Wow.
And there's a couple episodes that follow that really demonstrate this man who's a fucking champion and has gotten so far with one way of relating, changing his way of relating to get closer to
Yeah.
not only his woman, but his fucking purpose. Because his purpose has changed. He's old. He's not he doesn't he's not good enough to fucking play on the field anymore. He's won a championship. He's been around. He was the fucking captain of the team, but his life is changing. And so he's learning that actually being honest and vulnerable are the ways to a new layer of power, personal power. It's fucking powerful. I love that show. Ted Lasso. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. And I think what, it's not just in your relationship with your woman either, right? Like it's in all relationships. And so I would encourage everybody to, if you are going to join a circle, make sure that these are men who are really going deep, that are being vulnerable, that are opening up. I've realized in the many many circles that I've been in is that that's one of the gifts that I bring to circles, is that I'm usually one of the first people to speak because I'm there with an intention and there's a reason and there are things that are heavy on my heart, and I'm usually the first person to cry, and like really really get into some heavy shit. And like when you have somebody that can lead with that type of vulnerability, it opens everybody else up to be like, I can go there too. It is safe for me to also go there, right? And so this isn't just, we're not just talking about superficially gathering in a circle of other men, but we're talking about really getting into the nitty gritty of the stuff that you struggle with and the things that hurt and the things that are laying on your heart. And so I would encourage anybody to find a circle like that where you're able to really really like unload some of the things that you've been carrying.
Yeah, the way that the emotions build up in the system or aren't processed effectively.
We do
Uh,
with them as men. We weren't taught on what to do with them, on how to share those things. I believe I watched I think I watched an Instagram clip recently that was just basically like all these different ways that women process and share emotion and express emotions, and then the ways that men share and process and express emotions. And so many, and I know this was true for me, it really resonated, is that so much of my emotion as a man, especially younger, like I've gotten so much better at it as I've been doing work for years and years and years, right? But like it mostly just turned to anger, like
mm,
sadness turned to anger, and grief turned to anger, and frustration turned to anger, and rejection turned to anger, and all of these different I could go on and on and on, right? It turned to anger. And what I realized is that it's more like I'm more like heartbroken than I am angry, but the anger is the
mm,
defense mechanism, and or it's the one thing that we feel as men maybe keep us safe. Like if I well up and get mad right now, or even silence is also this it's almost like this dampened anger, frustration, where like I'll find that when I get upset, like sometimes I'll just get silent, and the appearance is that you're stoic, and stoic is strong, right? Whereas anger is also looked at as strong, like, I'm like rooted here, like you know what I mean, like as a man. And this is the way that we think that we protect ourselves. But through my evolution and as I've grown, like I realized that actually sitting there, and this is something you've helped me with, Aaron, sitting there and like naming the emotion, and like where is it? Like where do I feel that emotion in my body? Where is that emotion sitting in my body? And then how do I work through that? And even like going back to where
within 2 seconds or three breaths, right? Like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, right,
anger, fear,
right.
shame. It's in my stomach. It's in
Yeah.
my belly. It's in the back of my head. It's in my hands. Like, wow. And then being able to
Yep.
name that with either the person in front of you who's not responsible. Now, it's a tough world out there because you
Right.
outside of a men's circle, you might be in a process, whether it's with your woman or a work colleague, and you're like, man, I feel fucking like the way you said that made me feel angry, shameful, and hurt. And I feel that
Hmm.
all over my arms.
Hmm.
You know, give me 1 second. Quit shaking off.
Hmm.
Maybe it's cool.
Hmm.
Maybe the person has the capacity to receive that, but maybe not. Maybe there's
Maybe
danger
they're
in it.
maybe they're triggered and now they're processing, right? When
That's what
like
you
you have
just
to realize
described
this has
is
nothing to do with you, right? This is me. It has nothing to do with you. And I think that we find ourselves, we begin absorbing or reflecting that. Like I remember I remember as a kid, right? Like I would, and even as a young adult, and I've gotten better with tempering my emotion, but in having conversations with my dad, right? And like I would get super passionate about something, and then all of a sudden he'd cut me off like, "Oh, don't yell at me," and I'm like when I was a young kid, I'm like, there's this sense of rejection, right? And pain because this man that I look up to, I love and revere is rejecting me, which is not what he's trying to do, but he's interpreting my passion. And I get loud when I get passionate, if anybody who knows me knows. And it can be a lot. I understand that, right? Like I'm not saying it's not. Something I'm working on and maybe in perpetuity working on. I don't want to create that, but it's something that I will continue to work on, right? But I'm not yelling at you, Dad. Like, I'm not mad at you. Like, what? And like, but coming from somebody emotionally unavailable who's closed off a lot of anything that feels unsafe, that feels unsafe to him because of some wounds that he had when he was younger, and
Right.
so then that's the response I get, right? So being able to sit with people and find places where like that is accepted, not just tolerated, but like understood, like spaces created for it where, hey, we're allowing people to have their experience and express those things. It's like really, really important so that these underlying areas of like rejection or feeling misunderstood or whatever that have been there throughout our lives for a lot of us, me specifically, I know, are not there, right? And then those
Mm.
things can begin to melt away and you can start to heal those things. Like it's not that there's something wrong with me, it's that there's a specific environment to be able to have these conversations or be able to be these ways.
Yeah, that's a great observation, man. Because that one, the anger is man's easy way to eliminate the perceived enemy. I don't like the way I feel, so I'm gonna use my anger or stonewall or masculine power to shut
Hmm.
it down, to eliminate the enemy, and then I can have the freedom that I want, rather
Hmm.
than the embracing the paradox and finding freedom in whatever the moment is bringing to us, even if we
Yeah.
don't want to share our emotions, right? Maybe that's the best thing you can do. And this brings to mind just a quick reflection, but we can do two things really quickly. Do you want to play this game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, anybody can play this game. It's a three-question game, and it can take 45 seconds. One, write down your current circle of five. And I'll do this on my phone. I don't have a piece of paper in front of me. So my current circle of five, write these names of these men down. And number two is
And that current circle of five is the five people that you spend the most time around.
right.
Men, the
Five
five
men
men.
specifically. And if you don't have five men, then use the five people. It could be your son and your daughter, for example. You spend the most time with.
Are they that you speak the most with? Because a lot of us maybe speak with people more than we're actually in the flesh with them, right?
That's true. Yeah, the five men, ideally men that you connect with the most.
Okay.
And then once you have that, number two is, do these men sharpen me or do these men sedate me? And there's no judgment at all. Are they sharpening you? Are you getting stronger? Are you getting more resilient? Are you getting more durable? Are you more connected to your emotions? Are you more connected with your purpose? Are you being championed? Are you being appreciated for your gifts? Are you being supported with your hopes and dreams? Do they want to see you win? Or do they want to see you drunk? Do they want to see you upset? Do they like you and your anger? Are they comfortable with that in you? And when you win, is there some dissonance there? Is it, the jealousy, whatever it is? Do they sharpen you? Do they sedate you? And then number three would be, make a commitment right now in this moment to finding or creating one circle that sharpens you. Every person in it. It could just be one other person or two other guys, right? Or it could be four other guys. Then you have a really strong circle of five, a magic pentacle. Even where two or more gathered in my name, there I am, right?
Mm.
And brotherhoods are built on revealing who you really are. So you're no longer becoming anyone. You are your best self the minute you show up at the circle. And even if you're not feeling your best, that's where it's expressed and alchemized, and you're still championed for it. So,
Mm.
I mean, that's what we got going on here at the Men of Valor. We're for men who are ready to stop playing around with manhood and walk the path of initiation, even if it's fucking daily and it sucks for a while. You choose the initiation, the rite, and the circle. So that's the opportunity here. The the second thing is that you shared with is the idea of vulnerability and weakness. I think a lot of guys kind of feel dejected and hopeless, at least a lot of men that I'm talking to right now, because on one hand, women are telling us we want you to be more emotionally expressed and vulnerable, but then when we are, it's, suddenly the women are calling us unsafe, right? Like blaming us for our emotions, or it's too much, or it's actually not attractive. And so one way we can get beyond this paradox is by getting into a men's circle. You showed me this, a fucking gladiator wears a helmet, but he also just wears like a leather fucking skirt and a strap across his chest to hold his shield or his sword. I don't know about you, but if there's 100 other men staring at me with fucking edged weapons and that's all I have, am I vulnerable or am I not? Not if I have my fucking 300 or my other men with me. And maybe so, but at least with one other man, I feel like I fucking got this. I've got my homie. We've been training together. We've been sharpening each other's swords.
And we've all heard that saying, right? Iron sharpens iron and stuff like that, right? And one saying that I coach youth baseball, as you know, and one saying that I've been saying to my team a lot. It's a new team for me, so I'm able to drop a lot of new wisdom and stuff on them. But a rising tide floats all ships. So like you want the people around you to change and to up level yourself. Look at your own 2 feet. And what you'll find is that either they will come with you or you will find yourself in a circle of people that you've up leveled to that all of a sudden you feel inspired to be around, right?
Yeah, that brings to mind the Old Testament, the men of valor. Now I understand that there's many Christian fellowships are adopting this moniker because valor, where there is valor, there is hope. Valor equals courage plus faith, right? I have courage to do the things that I feel uncomfortable with, or I feel like other people are going to judge me, worried about what other people think. And faith, certainty that if it's a calling that I have, if this feels true and right for me and it doesn't hurt anybody, that it is true in like the name of God or Great Spirit or the Great Creator. And I think that was from the Old Testament. These men of valor were like warriors who were chosen for their strength, faith, and service when they weren't busy protecting and maybe bumping people out of their bodies because people wanted to harm people. And that's like the book of Joshua or Judges. You can check it out. I think it's like Joshua 1:9 and Judges 6:12. Oh, mighty men of valor, but also the other side of that is hope, is that that's the great Creator's promise. There's this terrible, I think, British saying that still, I think, mostly adopted from Britain, at least that's where I know it, and it's the hope that kills you. I think even that show Ted Lasso that I mentioned has episodes around this, and it's where there is valor, where there is courage to act in faith for the good of yourself and everyone involved, there's also hope. It's that assurance that the great Creator will hold you. The ground will not be taken away from you. This is not bad. And so men acting in courage create hope, not just for themselves, but for their families and tribes and the entire constellation of every relationship. And that's why if you enter a circle with me, I will for sure honor every man who shows up there for changing the constellation of their relationships, because every time we gather together to act in courage, to name our challenges or even our wins and champion one another, little drop of fucking hope. Like, wow, there is hope in the world. People do have my back. I'm not fucking alone. And we go back to our families with this hope. We go back to our communities with this hope. The pursuit of excellence and honor, courage, and noble action. And that's really what it is. It's not woo-woo again. It's chemistry. It's what we were fucking born to do, being around a proverbial fire, or at least in this case, the blue light of the laptop or phone. And, where there's just one man standing in courage, the entire circle of men remember what's possible for them too. And that has a sympathetic resonance where it literally affects every single man in the circle positively. I told you the facts at the beginning of this episode. You can rewind it and listen to that.
Yeah. And you mentioned the proverbial fire and the blue light of the phone and or the computer screen, but also we have plans for in-person events where we will sit around the fire and we will sharpen one another over the course of 3 and 4 days and nights, where you actually get an opportunity to put some of these things into practice, where you get to do it in person, where you get to begin embodying these things that we talk about and that we practice virtually, where, let's put this, let's apply this now so that I can then take it back to my wife and my kids or the people that I care about the most. And really just the idea of just being the best version of yourself, being a more embodied, healthy, masculine version of yourself. And it can only help everybody around you, right? There's nothing negative that comes out of actually facing these aspects of yourself, integrating them, and then embodying your best self.
Yeah, in a world where there was these tropes going around of these interviews with women saying that they would rather meet a fucking bear in the wild than another man, I think it's time, at least what we do here is restore faith in men, in brotherhood, in the ability to self-organize and self-lead, and to not let the powers that be just take control, and wring us out of our resources. This world, I think, is starved for hope. And Men of Valor, whether it's the biblical versions online or our group that we've created here that you find wherever in the show notes, carry that torch because we actually dare to stand in courage where, the rest of the world, unfortunately, has a habit of fight, flight, freeze, or retreat.
Yeah. You got anything else? I think that kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, fraternities, again, are built on proving and adolescent tests of strength and courage that really belittle more than build up. And that's what our brotherhood does. It's built on revealing your unique masculine power, presence, and purpose in the world. And the Men of Valor is for men who are ready to do that. Just move on, move from the fraternity model that may have got you here. And, especially if you're a man over 35 or 40 and you find your life is going down, you're like depressed or just it's too much pressure. This is exactly the initiation, the right and the circle for you. So come on and join us.